Playing a musical instrument is almost a given here in Taiwan, where there is a deep appreciation for Western classical music. As a concert pianist and music teacher, Kamil Tokarski knows firsthand about the fascination Taiwan has for this type of music in general and for the works of Polish composer Frederick Chopin in particular. In fact, listen out for a portion of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major on the Taipei Metro's Green Line if you haven't already. Tokarski joins me on Taiwan Talk this week to tell us about what first drew him to Taiwan and how he inspired himself to stay.
Well, love.
Okay.
My wife, well, now it's my wife, but at that time, my girlfriend. I studied in America for 10 years, and that's where I met my girlfriend. And when both of us were done with our education, we sort of had to think of the next step in our lives. I thought that it would be a fun adventure to go to another place and change the scenery, and I decided to follow my wife to Taiwan. So that's how it's all started.
It must not have been easy for you to establish yourself as a concert pianist here, though, right? How did it begin for you?
That's a good question. Yes, so what I did is probably what you should not do, which is as soon as I came to Taiwan, the first thing I did is I bought a concert grand piano, which I didn't, which I didn't have space for, and I didn't have students, and nobody knew who I am. But that was the first thing I did. So I immediately went on the market to look for a very high quality, fantastic concert grand. And I found it, and I told the owner that I'm buying it, but I will pick it up in a couple months because I have no space for it. And he said, okay. He said, okay, I will wait. I can wait a couple months. So I paid him, and I basically was on a hunt to find a space for my grand piano, because I knew if I have that motivation that there is a piano waiting for me and I need to find a space, I will find a space. If I didn't have that motivation, I wouldn't do it, or it would take me forever. So long and behold, I found a fantastic place very close to my home, actually super close to my home, which is very nice. And I turned it into a recording teaching studio. I brought the grand piano, and it's been wonderful ever since. So I put myself in this a little bit of a stressful position, but I knew it's going to work out because it will be a motivation for me to push. Because as soon as I got everything working, okay, now I need students. Okay, now I need concerts. Okay, now I need recordings. So it's really skyrocketed very quickly.
The first time I heard you play was at the Chopin concert in December of last year. But how do you spend your days while you're here?
Well, it really depends. It really depends at sort of what kind of situation I'm in. For instance, now I'm preparing several concerts, so I have to practice. Unfortunately, big portion of my day is spent on practicing either in the studio or at home. But other than practicing, of course, I do lots of teaching, lots of recordings for my students mainly, sometimes for myself, sometimes for people from outside, because as I said, my teaching studio is equipped with high quality recording equipment, cameras and microphones, high fidelity microphones. So I would say my days are pretty packed, and maybe a little bit too packed. Recently I was talking to my wife. I need a little bit more time for her and for my kids, because I feel like I'm married to piano, and that's not good. So it's pretty intense. What helps is that I live so close to home. It literally takes me 2 minutes to get to where I work, and that really helps things out. So I'm very flexible. I can have students at any moment. I can go see my kids at any moment, and that's so the way I set it up is I'm proud of that.
Okay. I I don't think I would be exaggerating to say that Taiwan is in love with Chopin. Would I be right in saying that?
Yes, in fact, I think I think it's hard not to be in love with Chopin, but there's something to it. There's something special about Asian appreciation for Chopin's music. There is something to it. Yes, it's quite fascinating. That I had a privilege to play, perform concerts in Europe, in America, and Asia, and I must say that people in Asia have particular fondness for Chopin.
Okay, I have a professed fondness for Chopin as well. So, but I couldn't tell you why. Is there a particular reason why the Taiwanese particularly are drawn towards Chopin? Because I mean, if you go on the trains, the Green Line signature song when the
That's
train
right.
in is
That's right.
is a Chopin. And so
Yeah, it's a Chopin
what is
nocturne,
it?
yes.
It's a nocturne, that's right. And so what is it about Chopin do you think that attracts the Taiwanese audience?
Um, you know, it's a difficult question. It's a quite philosophical question. I think it has something to do with a sort of mindset, mentality. Chopin's music, uh, first we would have to ask ourselves, how different is it from other composers? Why isn't, let's say, I don't know, Liszt or Tchaikovsky as popular, right? I mean, they are very popular, but not as popular as Chopin is. And I think that Chopin has this unique quality where he can mix melancholy, this state of sort of sentimentalism together with incredible, noble, aristocratic uh, flavor. It's a really refined aesthetic where you can find everything, but there is this emphasis on melancholy. That's just like they use the nocturne on the green metro line. Um, Chopin pretty much, well, he didn't create the genre of nocturne, but he 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 made it what it is. And many of his pieces, the ballades, the preludes, they exhibit that uh, deep melancholy, that deep sentimentalism that's not so common in other works, and that it has to do also with his, of course, masterful usage of harmony. He has his own particular harmonic language that facilitates that feeling. So it's really quite fascinating, and those are questions that we don't really have answers for. Like how does that work? Like what tools achieve that effect? And he had it naturally, and it's very difficult to replicate that. Even people that specialize in sort of replicating composers' style, almost always when they try to replicate Chopin's style, you can tell it's not really Chopin. There's something very special about his music.
Okay, how do you communicate that to your Taiwanese students so they can play to
Oh yes,
um
that's
they can play to the way that best maybe not represents Chopin himself, but represents the best part of themselves?
yes, that's a very good question, and I have to say that it's a incredibly difficult task. And even though I'm from Poland, I've been playing Chopin my entire life. I must say I'm a little bit scared to teach Chopin's music. The reason why is because and I'm very conservative, so very few of my students actually get to play Chopin. And the reason why is because of how complex it is, because of the music sounds simple, it sounds so beautiful, sounds so natural, but to achieve that simplicity, to achieve that natural flow is actually incredibly difficult. And I would say it takes a long time for a student, for a piano student, to be ready even for simplest pieces by Chopin. And yes, there is a lot of that dialogue when it comes to performing this type of music. You don't just talk about playing the right notes in the right time and with the right pressure. but you have to talk about the context. Like, what is this music about? Where is it coming from? What's the historical context? Who was Chopin, and why did he write it to begin with? And many young people are just not exactly ready for these conversations. You have to give them time to mature enough to to appreciate it themselves. Because I believe that you cannot play something well if you don't love it. You have to love it.
That was Polish pianist Kamil Tokarski, and that does it for this edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Ngo. You can catch this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download your podcasts. Thank you for tuning in.